Also, wait, before we start, do you watch Parks and Rec?
Yes.
So, do you ever see the episode where she gets her hair done at the barbershop by like the
Yes.
guy and she looks like I feel like I'm really working
Is that
that
what you're working right now?
right now. I like looked at myself and was like, you're definitely pulling
Leslie Knope went after she
Leslie.
went to the after she went to the barber.
Anyway, so
That over The Office for me. I know that's probably controversial for some people,
you want to know
but
what? We finished watching all of The Office and then started
uh,
watching Parks and Rec, and there's so many parallels in like character
yeah, it's a sitcom.
things.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, Parks and Rec is literally just The Office, except they go outside, except they leave the office.
They literally, yeah, their
They go
office is the
outside and they
world.
leave the office. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm just going to introduce us first, and I'll ask you my second question because I had to go on a tangent. Like always, nothing
Okay,
has
sure.
changed. A whole year has gone by and nothing has
Happy
changed.
2023.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Brittany,
I'm Maria.
and this is still the Be More podcast
We're
somehow.
still around.
After a month hiatus of us just doing life, we are still here. Okay, well,
Yep.
so I mean, I think it really has just been a month, right? Roughly, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so
roughly.
what have you done with yourself that's been something that you've enjoyed over the last month, Maria?
I traveled, which is why we also took the hiatus for a couple weeks because I was in the Philippines. Um, that was an experience traveling again, like international travel after not because of COVID for so long. Um, so I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed being on first class for one of the flights, so that was fucking great.
Wait, how did you pull that off?
Well, my dad works for United, right?
Very true.
So we fly standby. It's very, very, very small plug for my other podcast I started with Ashley. That's also going now.
Amazing.
Um, I actually talk about this whole experience on this week's episode on that. So if you want to hear me spiel about my travels, it's over
You
there.
do not have to talk about it. It's okay.
But very, very small tidbit. I only got first class because I fly standby with my dad, and that basically means we get the leftover seats that if it's not full, the flight isn't full. So if none of the paying passengers want to upgrade to first class, it goes to the employees and their family. So I had the privilege for
That's
the
cool.
first time in a long time to get a
Win.
first class seat from Tokyo to Newark, which is a 12-hour flight. I slept for 8 hours. Like that's how
Win.
comfortable those.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was very enjoyable for me. How was your month? What did you do?
It's so funny because I don't remember.
That's funny.
I feel like so for anybody who listens to our who has listened to our podcast before, Maria and I tend to record on Sundays, and I was so busy doing things that I don't even remember that we weren't recording. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was doing
Yeah,
so much
same.
stuff that
Yeah.
it was I missed it, but I was just like at the first week I was like I feel like I should be doing something, and then afterwards I completely left and I was just doing a million things.
Hmm.
But I did a lot of stuff for work, a lot of stuff in preparation for the new year with school. Um which was all great. And we had a show the last day of school, which was fun. I helped out. Do you remember when we used to do they had like Mr. High School,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah. Are you
so
helping with that?
they do that in my school and I helped out with that, which was actually it was redonkulous but fun. Um so just so much stuff. And then the week that we had off, I was very good to myself and I got a massage the first day of the break and then a massage on the last day of break.
Oh, nice.
So that's been something I've been trying to do more for myself.
Nice.
What else? I got to see a ton of family members. And I took my mom to probably the biggest thing over the break that I had. I was very fortunate to have a few days off, and be kind of social. But I took my mom to the Sight and Sound Theater in Pennsylvania. Have you?
Yes, I have. And it's funny because along my travel, my cousins that immigrated to America are in Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania, uh-huh.
around that area, literally.
Amish
And
country.
yes, Amish country. And we passed by it and I Googled it. I was like, it's like the biggest fucking theater in the
Dude,
nation or something. Like
it
it's huge.
so
This is so weird because I've never heard of it until like
and
now.
the
And
funniest part is the way that I heard about it is the same way. Was like some random somebody else brought it up to me. So
yeah.
the one of the custodians who works in my school, um, is just, he's freaking awesome. And he was out from school one day in September. So when he came back, I was like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, we missed you yesterday. And he was like, no, like, I took the day off and I went to this theater in Pennsylvania. And he started telling me all about it. So he went with his church community because they do buses. It's like a big community thing.
Yeah.
So he was really excited to tell me about it because he knows how much experience and work I have in theater and production and shows. And when I looked at the website, I was like, whoa, this place seems like a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And
even the outside looks.
they specifically, yeah, the outside is just ridiculous. They specifically only produce shows that are based on stories from the Bible. So there's a little bit of like religion to it, but at the same time, it's a story, right?
Okay,
so like
a play, right? Like
right, it's a story. It's still a story. Yeah. So I told my mother about it and I was like, this would be something that would be kind of cool for us to go and do for your birthday. My mother's birthday is on the 28th of December. And the more I was watching like the previews and stuff for it, it just looked ridiculous. It just looked ridiculous. The production value of these shows, the level of mechanical engineering and CGI, they use so many CGI, like so many screens. The stage comes all the way around, like at the front, like it goes into into the side, like it pulls back across the.
That's
it was just Scout's honor. I have seen shows in the city. I have seen shows on cruises. I've seen shows like all over. Like when we travel a lot, we see shows in a lot of bigger theaters. The best production I've ever seen in the United States was at this theater.
That's what I've heard apparently from word of mouth and just Googling that shit.
I was
crazy,
completely blown away. I just couldn't believe what was happening.
Also, to reiterate, in Amish country.
Yeah, and they're dropped. I mean, it's genius. Their location is kind of genius though, because
it is. Yeah.
The amount of traffic that they pull in is just astronomical.
Crazy.
But they're just like there. Like they're just there and there's nothing around them. So they have space for people.
We drove by. It's in the middle of just like around random town.
And it's beautiful because the way that it sits like between hills.
Yes, yeah.
So like there's one hill on one side and then when you go into the parking lot, you go up the next hill and the view from the parking lot is like you see all of Pennsylvania. It's like redonkulous. So when the sun's setting, oh my God, it was and the building itself looks like something like you would imagine like an Israeli palace to look like.
Okay.
And then when you go inside, it looks like you know how when you go to Disney, you've been to Disney. Yes. You just recently went to Disney. You know how when you go to Disney and you go inside the buildings or the rides, they make them look like the setting of wherever that place would be. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The whole inside seems like you're in like a desert building. It's
That's pretty cool.
And the theater, it was ridiculous. So I'm a snob about like shows. The production value of the show was just
indescribable.
Yeah, like the whole behind the scenes of how they make it come together is really cool and they talk about it, but they would never be able to do it. Was better than anything I've ever seen on Broadway, and they would never be able to do that level of production in the city because there wouldn't be like no theater was big enough to house everything that they do.
That's crazy.
With the 34 sheep that like run all over the place, like through the audience and in front, like there's sheep. They have all these live animals, alpacas.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah, horses. And the specific show we saw was the story of David, and I realized that I didn't really know the whole story of David.
I don't know anything about the story about David because
you know David and Goliath, like you know the concept of David and Goliath.
That's it.
Right, that's what I knew. And they make these 20-foot puppets, like 20-foot giant puppets that become Goliath and his brothers, like the actual person that it's like the whole story of the lion is after. I was blown away. Like the actors, the choreography was great for all the dancing that they did. Like the actors were phenomenal. I really just couldn't.
Was the place packed?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
And it was
yeah,
a
sure.
Wednesday, but it was also like the break, so I'm sure a lot of families and stuff had off, but
So I
it
know, yeah, they do David around around that time, and then someone told me they do like Moses, I
well,
think,
that's
in
what, so
spring. I
the way
think.
that their company structures, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it, which is different than a lot of other theaters are, they only work on one production and do one production for a set number of time because the amount of effort and energy that goes
And the
into
money that
making
goes
it
into yeah,
and the money that goes
they
into
kind
it,
of have to milk
like
that.
it's the way that if you were to see one of the things that really like, flabbergasted me was the way that they function with the sets. So if you're and most of the time people don't think about this, right? But if you're anybody who ever has done anything with set work or on stage or theater at all, or even if you haven't and you go and you just pay attention, the way that they did everything with the sets, Maria, I literally there was a moment where I felt my jaw open.
I'm
Like I was
sure.
just completely overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
Um, but they could never they would never be able to break that all down and put something else back up
Yeah, of course.
in
Yeah,
a short
because
amount of
it's
time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they run the same show for a long amount of time, and now the next show that they're getting ready to bring, once they're done with David, they're going to bring Moses, which is going
Yeah.
to be redonkulous because
Which I kind
they're
of want to
gonna
see.
they're gonna make the seas part. Like they're gonna with
Which I kind of want to see. Because
like
Moses,
and
at least I know the Ten Commandments story.
and
And
I
like, you know,
know that like
if it's like the Prince of Egypt, do you know that movie?
yes,
If it's
and
like
that's kind of
that
like,
shit,
but
like
but like they
you'll
do
see me there in spring.
everything in real life.
That's crazy.
Like he has the battle with Goliath and then he fights a lion at one point and it they're
All right, be more
geniuses.
podcast trip. We're gonna go see Moses in the
They're
spring.
literally my mother's going to come with us because my mother's now and it was funny because at first like my mother always is, she wanted to see they're actually the Sight and Sound company is now producing a movie
Oh, okay.
about Carol of the Bells.
Oh,
Like they're
okay.
becoming like an actual movie production company because they have the
They clearly have the wherewithal to do
capabilities.
all this. Yeah,
But my mother originally wanted to go and see A Christmas Carol, I think, or one of the Christmas
sure.
stories. And it was they only do that right before the holidays. Once the holidays over, they go back to whatever show they're running
Oh,
for
okay,
their
makes sense.
season.
Yeah, yeah,
So at first she was like, I don't really want to go. And then granted, it is like a 2 hour drive from here,
yeah.
but we went and like it was funny because at the end, look, I'm not a religious person. And there were parts of the story that were like, there's a part of the story where all the people like go on this like hallucinogenic ride and like dance and sing. And it's like
Yeah. Okay.
ridiculous. Parts of it, I was kind of like, right, I remember where we are now. But
Yes, of course. Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
by the end, it was so moving that like I was
Oh, I'm sure.
hysterically crying and my mother was
Yeah,
hysterically crying. And we
it's
both
a
walked
show.
out. Yeah, we
Yeah,
both walked out and we
yeah.
were like, what the hell just happened? And she ended up loving it and now she's obsessed and we want to go back and see every show they ever do ever.
I'm literally on the site right now, and they're running Moses from
I don't know, it starts in the
March
spring, right? Yeah.
March to October, dude.
Perfect. So over the summer, we'll go.
Like we'll just go over the summer, and I'll catch up with your mom. I haven't seen your mom in forever.
And you know what? We ended up having a really great time. We found this little things that you find in Pennsylvania that are just so like,
Yeah,
we
it's
found this
Pennsylvania,
little,
like it's a little
they have
countryside,
like all these little like, really unique things, right? Like randomly placed all over the place.
especially
Um,
Amish country, like that shit.
especially Amish country. We
Their
went to a
food and like little
diner.
tchotchkes. Yeah,
But we actually ended up finding this like 1950s retro diner, which
that's
was
pretty cool.
funny because my mother was born in the 50s, so that was super fun.
Hmm.
And I had the best turkey sandwich I've ever had in my life. And then we
Oh,
went
it's
like
all
to the
yeah,
country, like the country stores, and like we're shopping and stuff. We had such a good day.
great.
Um,
That's good.
that was probably the highlight of my break. That was a really long-winded plug for Sight and Sound Theater, but I
Literally, if you
promise
guys
you,
are going to Moses, bring me along because I want to see a
yeah,
show.
okay, absolutely. I promise you, anybody who ever wants to take the trip, if you can have just appreciation for showmanship and
Yeah,
storylines, like it will be
probably the best thing
a
you've probably ever
life-changing
seen.
experience for you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Nice. Well, I'm glad you saw that because I literally passed by it, Googled it, was also in Amish country because my cousins live around there and they wanted to show because my uncle actually is here from the Philippines and my cousin. So
Right.
they're like, "Oh, let's go to PA and
Let's
like see
look.
what's yeah." So we went around,
Love
actually
it.
ate at like an Amish owned establishment because just
Uh,
because I got like
just because. And it's probably
gingerbread
delicious.
truffles. Yeah, oh, it's fucking delicious. I got gingerbread truffles like homemade. I was like,
Wait,
this
where
is the
did you
best
go?
thing.
Do you know the name of the place?
I can't remember. It's a small place. I can't
Was it
remember.
attached to like a little mini mall?
No, it wasn't. No.
As a standalone place? Okay.
Yeah, standalone.
Because there
Yeah.
was a place there that we really wanted to go eat initially, and it was just packed, but it was
Packed.
Amish owned. Yeah. The thing that
There's also randomly, sorry,
that
there we passed by a it was like an old train. Just a whole train like with all its like I don't know what they're called.
the Train Museum of
Yeah,
Pennsylvania is
I've
there.
never seen it. But then it's also a hotel. Like you
Wait.
can stay in the caboose. Like each thing is
Oh,
its
I don't
own
think I
hotel.
realized that
Yeah. Yeah, so
because I
someone
saw
explained it to
the
me. I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, those are the hotel rooms." I'm like, "That's fucking sick."
That's cool. Well, they also have in that area that we drove by.
This is our
These
plug
are the
travel PA.
guys. Yeah,
You
like really. And the funniest thing is like
we're not from PA.
people think Pennsylvania and they think like the King of Prussia Mall, which is like one of the biggest malls on the coast. They think
Mhm.
like Philly, but and I mean, no one necessarily thinks Amish country, but there are so because no one thinks Amish country, there are so many really eclectic things around that aren't necessarily Amish, but on top of their, being cool stuff to look at in Amish country, we passed this building that was a steamboat.
What?
Like
Okay.
like the building itself, it was a
Like a
hotel, but it
boat.
was a steamboat. Like you remember the old, like they have all the
Oh
railings
yes.
and everything.
I might have passed that too. I was like, "Why is there a
It
boat
was
here?"
it's off of like a main highway, but there's literally a
Yes.
steamboat, and the front of the boat
Yeah.
was all glass, like where the dining area is, but it was a
Okay, yeah.
motel. Like it just
They
cool
also
stuff.
have
And then
they also have the Cartoon Network hotel in Amish country somewhere over there. Like it's straight up just like it's just like a random hotel, but it's like all Cartoon Network themed rooms and playgrounds for kids.
I wish I would have known that. Okay, when we go well, this is great because every time we go back to the Sight and Sound
Yeah.
Theater, we will find a different thing to go and explore. Um,
Travel PA, you're welcome.
and then on top of that, it was just so interesting to see people riding around in horse and buggies like
Yeah.
that. And then
Go ahead.
that was 90% of the conversation that my mother and I were having was how you would drive and it'd be like Amish country and then it would be really populated and then it would be Amish country
Yeah,
again.
they're
And
living together. That's the thing, right? That's
but
pretty
we were
cool.
talking about how like I would love to be in the public forum of the Amish people and see their responses to things because one of the things that we were talking about obviously was the traffic of the horse and buggies dealing with cars on the road because they're sharing the street. And we got there in the daylight, so obviously everybody can see and all of everything. But when we left, it was starting to get dark. And we were driving behind a horse and buggy, and all of a sudden they have these giant they must open them at night. They have these giant the like not the hazard, but like the
Like the yeah,
triangle.
triangle. I
Like
know exactly where you're going with this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then
Like reflective.
yeah, the wildest part was that once the sun set, they have lights on them.
I was literally gonna tell you, did you see? I was
Your
literally gonna be
face
like,
is just
did you
amazing.
see the horse and buggy? And they have turn signals on these things.
Oh, I didn't see that.
But literally, like I saw one literally trying to make a left. The horse was trying to make a left turn, and they clicked. I guess I don't know how it works because they don't have electricity in the house. But since they're out, I guess they're allowed. I don't know the
And this is all
specific
the stuff
things.
that my mom and I were talking about because you're like, how do they
Unless,
do this,
yeah,
but they can't? And then we were thinking like this must be the place where they have to merge.
yeah.
Like
That's
if
this
they're
is where
gonna
they have to be a little
survive,
bit more modern because they literally
yeah,
have a left turn signal. Because if
right.
without that, what if someone's trying to overtake
Right.
them and
And
the horse is trying to?
without the
Yeah,
headlights or
yeah.
anything, you cannot see them in the
You
darkness
can't
because
see
there are no
shit.
lights on the roads there.
Yeah.
It, yeah, deep dive into Amish living because it
Yeah.
just seemed like, whoa, like from what you know about Amish country and how people behave, to see people have
Yeah.
stuff on there,
Uh,
it was just, I was blown away by all of it. I was just, that whole day was just like, I feel like I'm somewhere else. Like this is a whole
Yeah,
different experience.
it's a couple
So
hours away from us, which is crazy.
highly encourage people who have any curiosity about Amish country, period, or haven't been in a while.
Go out there, honestly.
It's
Even
just
just support them because they are a community,
for sure.
a minority community too. Like so, like eating at an establishment there is also like really
And
good fucking
the
food.
contributions that they make to general society with the things that they make and their farming, like
Yeah, they're efficient farmers, from what I
they're
hear.
efficient at everything they do.
Yeah,
Some of the furniture pieces that I mean, Jesus, uh,
yeah,
we owe them a lot more credit
yeah,
for
for sure. Yeah,
sticking to their beliefs that believe in and the beliefs that are good for humanity, right? Beliefs that do not cause harm or anything by any means, that just are like wholesome and just living by them regardless of
yeah.
what's happening
Regardless of
around
what's
them.
happening. Yeah, I agree.
Um, so yeah,
Okay.
that was my little stint in Amish country. So the question that I was going to ask you,
I was like, this wasn't what we were supposed to talk about, but we were
no,
both
but
in
it's
Amish country.
totally fine. Amish country for the win. So I was thinking about this morning, and I've been thinking that about this about myself for a while. What kind of person are you in the morning? Like, are you the kind of
Oh, that's the
person
thing
who,
you texted me. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is she?
Well, the funny part is
Uh,
I had those in my, whenever I think of something that I want to like talk about, I write it in my little messenger thing to you, but don't hit send.
oh, until you're ready to be like, okay, next for the
Uh,
next episode. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. That's fine.
And then I had to ask you for the code to log in for Google. I was like, I'll just send this to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, what kind of person are you in the morning? Like, are you the kind of person who like, I'm gonna take my time to
Hmm.
do things like, or are you the kind of person who's like, all right, I'm out of bed and I have to go. Like I have to
Okay,
block.
so during the work week, I do have a set routine every morning now, as opposed to because I was all dysfunctional. Obviously, I'm not a morning person per se, but because I have a routine, I know what I'm doing in the morning now, which helps me get up.
Got
So
you.
the weekdays, it's like I unfortunately still hit snooze. That's like my next goal of 2023 is to not hit snooze, but I will hit snooze until the point where I'm like, fuck, get up and do your morning routine on the weekdays. But then
Got
weekends, I'm
you.
just like, the earliest thing I have is this at noon. So it's like, huh, I'll get up,
How,
I'll look through my phone, like I feel fine, and then I'll do my morning routine.
okay, so question for you. So
Sure.
you have, how do you feel? So say it's not a work day, because this is the thing that I was
Sure.
experimenting with for myself, especially when I was off on break. And I've noticed it the last 2 days. You have a day that you don't have to work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have any
Obligations.
external pressures or obligations where you have
Yeah.
to be somewhere.
Yeah.
So you you're saying your choice is to like very slowly go, and
Yeah. I go about my day. Yeah.
how do you notice? I'm trying to ask this without like telling you what
What your
do you
opinion is?
how do you feel, no, like what I notice about myself, how do you feel come like, say you wake up around like 8, 10,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah. Yeah.
slowly take your time to go through the day. By like 2, 3 o'clock, like do you feel some anyway?
Well, regardless if it's a day off or a day when I'm working, 2, 3 o'clock is always like I need another cup of coffee.
Do you also start your day with coffee too?
Weekdays, yes.
Okay.
Weekends, I actually like make breakfast. Cause then that like I know it's like not like a good thing just to start your day off with coffee, but like if I'm that asshole that will literally hit snooze until I'm like I need to just like get coffee in me to like supplement something.
Got you.
Um, but 2 or 3 o'clock, if it's like let's just take your example, like I just get up and do whatever and like go about my day in a slower manner.
Hmm.
I think 2 or 3 o'clock, I feel even if I am at a slower pace than I usually am in the weekday and like I have obligations, I still get shit done way before 2 or 3 o'clock, and I'm just chilling. Like that's how I feel. I'm just chill. Why? What's up with you at 2 or 3 o'clock?
Here's what I've noticed about myself.
Sure.
I this is probably
Oh God.
terrible, but and I know that this comes from my anxiety, and this comes
Okay.
from my this 100% it comes from my anxiety and like my brain. If I give myself the morning to be like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna follow a
Oh, I
routine.
see. I see.
I'm just gonna like, huh, I do nothing. Like I do
Oh, yeah,
nothing.
I'm chilling
And
too.
then
Yeah.
the fact that when I have to start doing things, you might as well pull my teeth out. Like I
Yes, yes,
can't.
agreed. Agreed. Which is why you get shit done in the morning before the 2 or 3 o'clock hits, and you're like,
Right, right, right.
yeah, yeah.
But then, and this is the paradox that sucks balls, right? So like that was me yesterday. I was like, I'm not gonna do anything.
That was me yesterday too. Yeah,
I'm not gonna get out of bed. Like I literally could not get myself out of bed. I was like, all right, like, I don't want to do anything. And then I started to get up and I move around and I started doing some things just because it was bothering me. Like I washed some dishes and I started cleaning things and I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna eat breakfast now and then I shut off again. And then the second that I had to start doing anything and because I had to be on meetings yesterday, I was just like, like I did not. Like
I
the
get that.
depths of my
Yeah.
soul were like, no. And then the rest of the day, I was like, I'm not fucking doing anything. That was it. We were
No, I
done.
get that. I get that. Yeah, for sure.
This morning,
Uh-huh.
and I spent all of last night being like, oh man, like tomorrow I actually have to get up and do stuff. Like I can't do nothing. I hate the person that I am when I sleep in. But when I am when I'm my effective self, like this morning, I woke up, I started doing all of my normal routine that I do in the morning to get myself ready to feed the cats, all this stuff, and left the house and was like, oh, I didn't get to sleep in, but like at
You
least I
feel
feel
better.
good. Right?
Yeah.
And like I feel better. So here's the paradox question that I don't think we'll ever know the answer to and is super fucking annoying me. I am a morning person. I've realized that about myself. I'm a morning person. I want to get up, I want to do stuff, and I want
Yeah.
to like go, 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 and then I want to be in bed after that.
Makes sense.
Why though, when I know that I want that, and I know that that's where like the best like the most efficient of me, the most awake and engaged efficient version of me is, oh, move my computer. Why then do I crave being the person who sleeps in when I know in reality I don't like the person that I am when I sleep in?
I don't know. It could
Isn't this
also
so interesting?
it could also be like your body telling you should probably sleep in, even though you may feel instant gratification in the morning when you do everything, all your routines and shit.
It probably is. I know it's definitely a matter of like I need to rest. I also
There's
really
some
want to know
balance,
if anybody else experiencing this. It's one of those funny
probably.
things where I just was talking to my aunt about this morning. She was asking me about how things are, and I was telling her my life right now is like chaotic. Um,
Mm.
and I was telling her about all the things that I'm doing and how my schedule is working. And I was like, I really do love it though. Like there's nothing else that I'd rather be doing. Like I'm going
Yeah,
hard to the point of being exhausted and I'm happy with that.
that's
But
how
then
I am too. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's just like the way that our brains are, right? You hit the point where you're so tired and you're like, I just want to be doing nothing. But then you actually start doing nothing and you're like, all right,
I need to do something. It could be our anxiety.
I think it is
Yeah,
my anxiety.
because I mean, like, there's some balance that we have to maintain. Clearly, we're both just doers of things.
Yeah, it's so and I think it has something to do with the type of energies that we are as people, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I am 100% just to put this into a container, even though I don't think it's that easy, but to give us something to grasp. Like I out of the different energies, like I can't remember what they're called. Oh my God, it's gonna bother my brain so much. But the different types of energy that people can be like known as like and like the concepts of like Ayurveda is like Pitta, Vata, and Kapha.
Sure.
And then we've talked about these before.
You probably have. Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Um, Kapha is the like couch potato-y person, the
yeah.
like very grounded, really hard to mobilize, but like happy to stay in place and
Yeah.
very calm all the time. And then Vata is like your space cadet.
Okay.
And then Pitta is like your fiery, like go, 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 go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I am that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just
it's
because
hard.
it's hard to
So
just
I
maintain
am
that.
like, yeah, so I'm like in my element going and going and going and going. And then once I start to do the other two, it's like so hard for me to come back.
Because then you're stuck in that. Like you're stuck in
Like
the other two.
I really just want to like get into the head of somebody who's not.
Anxious? Mental who's like
Wait,
mentally
you want to hear
okay.
so this is the funniest story ever, and I told it to Dan, and if my mother ever listens to this, she'll probably kill me, but we we were in the car right now, mind you, 2 hours each direction, me and my mom.
It's a long ride. Yeah, for sure. It's a
A
long,
lot
long
of stuff
ride.
going on.
Yeah.
We actually we didn't get in a single fight the whole day, and it was just us. I was
Good.
super impressed.
Yeah.
And what did she say to me? She said she was saying something to me about my mother is going to therapy. My mother is going to therapy.
Congratulations. Wow.
Mother is
Happy
going to therapy.
2023. Holy
My mother
shit.
is going to therapy.
Oh my God.
Um,
Congratulations to everyone involved.
because dealing with this shit with my dad is a lot.
And she took the time to like figure out that she needs it. That's great. That's the step one. Yeah, yeah. Great. Good. I'm happy for everyone involved.
Um, so my mother going to therapy is great because these conversations that we have are just mm.
Oh
So
yeah. No, yeah.
we're talking about well, she's telling me a story and says something to the point of the fact that like her therapist said something to the point about like her having anxiety. And she started and she goes, "Yeah, I guess I have anxiety now." And
Now.
I'm driving in the car and I'm just going, hmm
Mm-hmm.
And she says something about like the experience that she has when she like the thing that the feelings that she's experiencing. And I go, "Yeah, mom, that's anxiety." And she goes, "What do you know about anxiety?"
Well,
And I
ma'am.
go, "I've had anxiety my whole life." And I was like, "Want to guess where the tendencies to have it come from?" And she goes, she goes, and she's like, "You don't have anxiety." Like she like just
Oh
she
yeah.
doesn't know. She doesn't know.
She doesn't
She
know
doesn't
yet.
know
She doesn't
yet.
have the
Yeah.
vocab yet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's what anxiety feels like." And it was just it was a funny moment because she's like,
No way.
"What?
Yeah.
You deal with this?" And it was just such a good, like funny, and I kind of wanted to be like I kind of wanted to be like, "Mom, what the fuck?" Like, but at the
Of
same time
course,
was
but
like,
at the same time you
but now
can't.
we're actually able to have a conversation about it, right? I've
Right.
mentioned to her that I'm in therapy and deal with anxiety a
Yeah.
plethora of times over the last 5 years, but now she knows what it's like, right?
Yeah,
And
so
she's realizing that she's dealing with it, so she's actually like seeing the
good.
through line there.
Good, that's
But
great.
yes, but I think it is totally just life with anxiety. Our brains are just like go, go,
Yeah, they're
go,
just
go,
go, go,
go,
go.
go.
There's no stopping, honestly.
But
Unfortunately.
that's
Um,
how I know that I actually slept and kind of
mm,
recuperated over break and came back from being super burnt out because my brain's natural tendency is to want to ride up there. And
yeah.
when I get burnt out, I literally can't anymore.
No, it's you straight up just
So,
are just like, I'm not doing anything today. Sorry, not sorry.
so you're the kind of person who I'm gonna take it easy. So you have a routine for yourself so that you get things done,
Correct. Like,
but
and
you'd rather be more just
I'm
like
like, yeah,
flowy in the morning.
I'm like pretty fluid if I don't have anything in the morning, but I also, again, with anxiety and just being a, I don't know, type A person, I make to-do lists for myself for the weekend, like chores, like exactly right, like because I'm
Literally
gonna
showing one.
forget. I'm gonna forget, and it's the same damn 5 things I have to do every weekend when I like clean, but I'm gonna forget. Or like
Yeah.
if I have to run errands or like go grocery shopping, so I like put it on the list or whatever. So on the off days that I have, and I'm still like waking up slower than normal, I still get that shit done the first thing. Like I have a cup of coffee or eat breakfast, then I'm like, all right, run errands. And then 2 or 3 o'clock hits, and I'm like, I'm done. And that's
I'm
it.
learning that about myself
That's it.
that if it doesn't happen before a certain time, it's not
Forget
happening
it's not
that
gonna
day.
happen. Exactly. And like even at work, I will only schedule morning meetings for the most part. Like, and my cutoff is like 2 o'clock because after 2 o'clock, I'm like, just leave me alone. I need to get my
I get
work
that.
done. Or like,
That is why I
yeah.
so much enjoy.
Hmm.
It's funny because I hated it when we were younger. I hated it. Hated how early we had to get up. I hated all of that.
Oh,
But
for
now
sure.
as an adult, I love that majority of my day, a majority of the big decisions that I have to make in my day are happening between like 8 a.m. and 2.
Yeah,
And
like 2 o'clock's my cutoff. Otherwise, don't even talk to me.
I understand the structure of like the way that we structure 9 to 5. Like I understand a lot of
Yeah.
that because that's when, so now I'm going to throw a wrench in this system. So, at, do you think that that has anything to do? Do you think that that time is just the most effective time because of like us, or do you think that we're influenced to have that time be the
Oh
most
God.
effective time?
Like nature nurture type thing.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, our bodies do have that like internal clock thing, right? What I can't remember
Yeah.
what it's called, right? And like
So wait,
you're supposed to sleep at night. Like I feel like it's part that, but also because we're in a 9 to 5 society, like it's both. It depends.
okay, so I'm going to bridge this to the a conversation that I was having with a group of people on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So our internal clocks, right? Our internal clocks are what do they respond to? So you think it's like the sun? Do you think it has to do with like this amount of light we experience?
I don't think so.
Like
Maybe.
where does our internal clock come from? Like is
I
it
have
something
no.
that we
I would
is it some
assume it has to do something with light, but I don't think it has to be you seeing it. Because
or is
what
it
about like? Go ahead.
or is it habit?
Oh, well, I guess it's a well. Here's also. I mean, I guess it could be part. It probably is habit because my mother works overnight, right? Like overnight shifts, and she just happens to just be nocturnal because she's worked that since she
So like
started working.
her 9 to 11 that we experience in the morning could be from like
7
midnight to
p.m. to
4.
yeah, exactly, like 8 p.m. to midnight or something.
Like that's when like the brain is most awake and firing fully.
Yeah,
Because the conversation that we were having on New Year's Eve was really interesting. We were watching the New Year celebrations happen in different world destinations.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And nothing makes you realize that time is bullshit other than sitting in America and watching someone celebrate New Year's in another
In different
country.
in different countries and different time zones for sure. Yeah,
Because I think we were watching the one that we had were we saw was in London.
yeah. Okay.
And it for a hot moment because we were sitting in the kitchen and weren't really paying attention
You're like, oh my
to
God, is it midnight?
right. And I looked over and I saw the fireworks going off and went, shit, like did we miss it? Were we talking?
Yeah,
And then they showed that it was in London. And I thought to myself, what the hell? Like, you know
yeah,
what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. Like time's
Like,
just a
what the hell? So
weird
we went
thing.
into this whole bigger conversation about time and daylight savings time and like what if time was universal and we weren't like because then truly, if time is a like time is irrelevant and we can manipulate time so much, like how old you are is also irrelevant because you could be 39 and then travel a certain number of times backwards around the earth a certain number of time and land and not and be 5 or 6 years younger. Like,
Yeah, the amount of times I travel, like, am I really like,
right, like you've moved forward and backwards in time enough that you're probably not, which should make you
yeah.
feel better. So we're going to be 30 this year. Let's just travel backwards around the earth a number like
Just keep
15 or
going back.
16 times and just
Just
see
keep
what
going back.
happens.
Yeah.
How do you truly Benjamin Button? Um, and one of the conversations we were having was around, what people in Alaska who have a lot less daylight. And then now we also have all of like fluorescent lighting that impacts whether we're responding to the sun or not. So
Yeah.
I think that at this point, my argument would be that it's convenient that because of where we live and the environment we're in, like nurture and nature are overlapping.
Right.
But our concept of time, I don't think,
That's just influenced by whoever thought of time.
Right, like that's what it might have just been a nice parallel. Like whoever was figuring out time was going, well, when I'm here, this is when we're the most awake, so we should make it
Also, yeah, like I
now.
mean, going back to like the Amish country, it could just be the farmers. They're like, well, I need to get shit done at 4 a.m.
That's very
because
true.
the lights up or whatever. Well, whatever type
But
yeah,
somebody
saving
who
time.
wakes up to, if you're waking up to be actively working by 4 o'clock, you're waking up at like what, like 1 or 2 in the morning, probably to have that be
That's
the
my
height of your,
father. That's literally my father. Like right
blah,
there. Yeah, yeah.
geez.
And
Like,
he's done at like 12.
but you're not responding to the sun then because there's not sun at
No.
4 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah.
it's, and then one of my arguments of like saying that it had to do with the sun was that, well, what happens in the next 100, 200 years or whatever time frame we
Whatever.
actually have when we're not living on the earth anymore and we all live in a spacecraft and the sun is stimulated. Like
Then you're
how,
just truly just listening to your body,
right, we're
right?
just responding to our bodies, but there's simulations that help match what feels the most convenient or like there's going to be a point. I mean, if the human race exists past living on the earth, there's going to be a point where we're not relying on the sun. And then time is
Oh
going to
yeah.
be completely irrelevant. Like it's not going to,
Who's gonna keep track of time like that?
and it's so all of this is so interesting and it's something that we don't ever have to think of as humans. And one again, anxiety about time, always high, but it's something that we're too smart for our own good. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, because there's no real answer. Like
It
even
doesn't
I mean,
it uh
any like experiment on this would be too inhumane. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one
yes.
could also argue the prison system in America and like, the people that go into like solitary confinement, like how they regulate time
Well, that's the whole isn't the first step to slipping away from sanity that you
is to
lose
confine
concept of
yourself.
time. Well, no,
And
yes,
also
but
darkness.
because you lose the concept of time.
Yes. Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that.
Like
So
you don't
then
know if you then don't know if it's been a day or literally 2 weeks. It's just like who knows?
do you think that that's something that again, this is another nature versus nurture question. Have we, okay, how do I structure this long thought process? So if one of the steps to making people feel like they've lost, if one of the steps,
She got
oh,
freaked out,
something,
everyone.
my mother is calling me because all these sounds are going off. Wait. Hi, wait. I'm going to call you back. I'm doing the podcast with Maria. I'll call you back in like 15 minutes. No, I'm doing a podcast with Maria, so I'm not looking at my phone. Okay. Literally just got yelled at on the podcast.
On the
Just got yelled
podcast.
at by my mother for not answering a text from 2 days ago. I just want that on the record somewhere. Can't wait for that conversation. Anyway, so here's my question. If we know that putting somebody in solitary confinement is one of the things that leads them to having psychotic breaks, right? Or being
Yeah.
disoriented and disengaged. One of the things that we found in studying that, which is ridiculous that I'm saying we've studied that, we know this, and we still fucking do this to humans.
I don't want to talk about that. That's a whole different fucking podcast episode.
If we know that, and we know that pulling them away from the like time, which is the structure, right? The structure of time leads to the brain losing a sense of structure, period. Is that something that the brain needing to have that sense of structure with time, is that something that we've taught or is that something that we've always had? Right? Like
Yeah.
people prior to us really honing in and developing our concept of time, did we need that structure? Like does that structure walk the same line with sanity, or is that something we've just taught ourselves?
Um,
Like, do people go insane if they're in, like people who live in Alaska? Do they go insane after being, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like especially with
I'm,
the lack of sun in some parts of the
and they're not
year. Yeah.
mutually exclusive, right? It's a
No,
lack of
they're not.
social interaction, a lack of a lot of other things. But we know that losing sense of time
Can
makes our
disorient you.
brain, right,
Well,
feel disoriented.
a very common thing with like them like forgetting what time it is or like not knowing what time it is literally when you travel and you go time zone to time zone.
Mm.
When I like went to the Philippines, like I jumped I want to say two or three time zones and I'm like, I don't know what time it is. I don't know if I should be texting people in Jersey and if they're awake or if they're asleep. Like it's just like I don't know
So
anymore.
is lack of structure in time in being able to have an understanding of that leading to disorientate being disoriented, is
I
that nature versus nurture or nurture?
I think it's just nature. And in this instance, in this like specific
And
time
I
zone
think it
travel
becomes
instance,
it's more complicated. I guess that would be a really hard argument to fully
it's weird because
like
then so many
follow
variables. Yeah.
because people, the way that the example that you just gave of you being able to travel all over the freaking globe,
Yeah.
our ancestors of humanity didn't have that
Didn't have
problem.
that. That's like, yeah, this is like a
So
new
it's got, but
generational.
then
It's not
then
generational.
maybe that's the answer right there. Then maybe it's got to be a nurture thing.
True. Yeah, because literally, like before my parents, not at least from my understanding,
You're going
people
really,
just
guys,
people
welcome to
just stayed in the
2023,
Philippines.
guys.
Where we're really doing
Going,
this.
we're
We're really
going
doing
real,
this.
we're going really hard on all of these theories, but it's just these
I get where
concepts
you're
are
going though.
it's so interesting. I started listening to a new podcast called Not Past It.
Okay.
Um, for anybody who's like me, who actually is a really big history nerd, just not in the way that American education teaches history.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was a history nerd until about 10 years, like not even 10 years ago, less like maybe 6 or 7 years ago when I had to stop being forcibly taught history.
The white American
Um,
history. Yeah.
I'm a huge history nerd, and this podcast, Not Past It, goes back through history and tells you about modern events and how they've affected the way we live
Oh, like
now.
the
So
domino
it
effect.
asks, well, it uses a domino effect, but like a lot of the questions it asks is like, how did we get to this point?
That's cool.
And like looks back at things that have happened in history, which is literally all of my, it's all I want from history is to know like how the fuck did we get here? Um,
I,
and
you
that's what
know,
we're gonna
those
do
are,
on this podcast now, I guess.
and that's a bunch of the documentaries that I watch, right? Or
It's
that's a bunch
so
of just documentaries,
interesting.
period. So just there's a new documentary on HBO Max called This Place Rules. Do you have HBO Max?
No, but I think I've heard of this one.
So it for all the political science buffs, it's about the how we got to January 6th in another documentary. It's just yet another what happened at January 6th and how we got there. But it's like an hour and a half. It's not like a whole series. It's literally just like one episode and like that's it. But the storytelling is just so fucking good because it's like this is what happened, QAnon, and then Russia, and then it was just like it was fucking incredible. And also I'm also watching it's called The Agents of Chaos or something.
Oh, I heard about that one too. I haven't
It's
watched
a
that yet though.
two-parter. It's a two-parter about how quote unquote Russia uh influenced our 2016 election. And like with like interviews from people from that operation in Russia.
Whoa.
It's dude, you should watch it. Like if you want to know because I had no
Uh,
idea. I just because it was in the back burner of American minds like, oh, Russia's around. But like they were around. Like they made fake US companies like
like
websites.
shells.
Not and like not even like
But like not for
yeah,
finances, but like shell companies for like other things.
right, but like nothing like they weren't official. They were just marketing it like, "Oh, we're pro Black Lives Matter," but like are stationed in Russia and like affecting the
This
social
is
media discourse.
marketing is going to be the end
And
of
it's
human existence
yo,
just
I think
because they
you told
we
the
can
podcast this. Yes.
yes, because you can say whatever the hell you want to say and there's literally the
Dude,
amount of
it's
legal
crazy.
bounds like
Yeah,
it becomes
especially with the internet,
it's
right?
just, I just ugh.
Especially with the internet because
Uh,
like it's another thing if it's printed material, but
super
the internet,
interesting field, like
oh,
super
so good.
interesting field, but like it's going to be the end of society. Um,
Documentaries. Also, I just watched the new Madoff one on Netflix. Do you
oh,
remember
I
the new
saw that
Madoff?
one too. Yeah, but I didn't
So
watch that
good.
one yet. So
So
this
good.
is what 2023 is going to be, you guys. Like
Yeah.
we are going to just go in on stuff because like when we restructured this podcast and we talked about the concept of like, are you awake yet? These are the kinds of concepts that we can start being like aware of and woken up to because
Yeah.
there are so many things that happen in our lives every day that the reason why we deal with them and experience them has nothing to do with us and have to do with decisions that were made generations and generations and generations ago and shit that happened under the rug that no one talked about, but impacts us every day. And
Yeah.
the more we know about what we're fighting against and what we're walking with, the better we can equip ourselves to be able to manage the friggin' minefield that is
The world.
being a fucking American in our country right now. Like that's not to make it political, but
Yeah.
like it's
Well,
the
you
truth.
know.
Like and being a member of the human race on this earth in 2023.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the need to be quote unquote woke is stronger than ever
Because
because
it's
there's a
just
lot
but
of bullshit.
it's a fucking survival like you need to
Yeah.
know to be able to survive in this world. Otherwise,
You're just
you're
blinded
you're gonna
by
get swallowed. You're gonna get swallowed.
you're just blinded by the Fox News, CNNs,
right.
and
And
NBCs, ABC. Yeah.
you're going to end up just another cog in the wheel of the greater mission that they have instead of deciding on what mission you want to have for your own life. And nothing is worse than blinking your eyes. I mean, that my biggest fear is like, I don't want to blink and be like, well, what the fuck happened to me in my entire life? Like, you should be
Yeah,
the
of
person
course.
that gauges that. Sorry, I went to go mute myself and totally missed. Okay, anyway, so next episode,
Yeah.
we are getting into, and I have to tell you the whole story of where my brain started with this, the history of laughter.
Yeah, she texted that too. I was like, I don't know which ones we're gonna talk about today.
And I'll tell you the whole story. You have to, I'm going to forget. So you're going to have to remind me to tell you the whole
Okay.
story of why I even started thinking about this. But that's coming up on our next episode, you guys. Welcome to 2023.
Yeah, happy New Year, everyone. We're back.
We're ready for an upswing. Let's start off strong. All right. We'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to us. We're so happy to be going into another year of doing this and that you're here with us for it.
Cool. Okay, bye.